I can't tell you how many times a week I receive messages with individuals asking about their ability to get to the next level with their communication style and speaking. So these videos are for you. I can't wait to help you with your confidence, with your leadership, with breathing techniques, with the importance of storytelling. I've been speaking since 2006. And I can share with you a couple of things about the speaking business. It takes hard work just like anything in life. So don't only be prepared to work on your craft. I'm going to share all the tools that I use in my communication style, but also work every day in the habits of building a great business. What started as a $500 keynote in Chicago when I was 26 years old has now turned into a business where I speak 80 to 90 times a year, 8 different countries, working with some of the top sports teams in the world, Alabama football, the Miami Dolphins, working with UFC champions, as well as having the opportunity to work with the Microsofts and the Quicken Loans and Fortune 500 companies around the world. I have the opportunity to speak multiple times a week, from coaching to speaking. And today, I'm going to share secrets with you to help you on your journey, in your leadership, in your communication, to take it to the next level. The most important thing you can do to get started is just be you and be confident. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to take my energy or the way that I communicate and you go speak that way. Go be yourself. Have a level of confidence. Think about a period of time where you have been confident in anything you've done in your life. And that's the mindset you can take yourself to when you step onto that stage. Have fun. Don't take yourself too serious. I remember my mentor, John Gordon. He's been my mentor since 2008. We first had the opportunity to share the stage together in 2009, and I'll never forget it, right? Your mentor, he comes to St. Louis, you plan this big event, we're at a big ballroom in the Chase Park Plaza, there's 400 people, it's the first time you'll ever get real feedback from your mentor. And I finished the talk, I'm all excited, I felt like I'd hit this home run, and I walk up to John, I say, John, what did you think? And he says, Ben, you're a great communicator, all the points were awesome. But he goes, are you aware that you can smile and you can tell jokes and you can actually be yourself on that stage? And it was one of those moments where I took this big deep breath and it was like, finally, that's what I wanted to hear. It's what I needed to hear. It was music for these ears because I was so tense trying to be perfect. Don't be perfect. Take your confidence, go be you, and enjoy the opportunity to empower and inspire people to be better in their lives. Own the stage. One thing you're probably going to find consistent in me sharing what will help you get to the next level with your speaking is that a lot of these lessons, they aren't things I created myself, it's things I've learned from my mentors. You know, many of you that know me, I'm an emotional guy. I cry when I watch Extreme Home Makeovers, right? Life can be tough, life can be challenging, and I've been blessed to have mentors and coaches and individuals in my life to help me with everything that I've done, and they still help me to this day. And one of the things I learned was the importance of storytelling. Storytelling. I'm a storyteller. And I remember when I used to give keynotes, I would have slides. And the slides for me, it was really a crutch. It was a crutch so that I would remember what I was supposed to say. And sometimes they would have words on them when I first got started back in '06, and then the words would come off of them, and then they were just pictures because you started to remember some of your library of content. Just like each and every single one of you, always keep note, create a library of content. Your best stories, keep the details, keep the content, because you're going to want to repeat it. But over time, you start to do that, and you build all this content, and you're doing all this storytelling, and you realize that you don't need the slides anymore. I remember I was going to give this huge talk in Chicago for a big CPA association. And my mentor, John Gordon, here's his name again, he says to me, are you still using those slides? And I said, yeah, man, I use the slides because it shows people a picture and, my mom and the challenge and watching her fight of life. And she taught me about passion for life. Like, I want people to see her picture. He says, are you open to an idea? He says, get rid of the slides. Allow your words to paint your pictures. So I wanted to identify a story that would connect us to this deep-rooted purpose of your work. And I found a story that takes us back to 1983. This story is about a single mother named Janet. Janet divorced when her youngest son was 6 months old. Janet was not only a single mother of 2 boys, but Janet was also a teacher. Maybe the kind of teacher like you used to have in school. She would walk into a room and she had energy that went for days. Her students absolutely loved her. She had these big magnetic brown eyes, this big pearly white smile, long brown hair, and she would light up a room. Her students absolutely adored her. Her children loved her. And in 1983, this single mother, this teacher, was diagnosed with a rare muscle disease called amyloidosis. For those of you that don't know what amyloidosis is, each and every single one of you, in your muscles, you have amyloids. If you were to have an excess of amyloids, you would have a disease called amyloidosis. At the time of Janet's diagnosis, there were 2 hospitals in the United States that were treating the disease: Mayo Clinic in Minnesota and the Boston Medical Center. For some reason, Janet's team of doctors in St. Louis, Missouri, chose for her to board an airplane and to go to Boston to receive her treatment. She shows up to the amyloidosis research department. She's to meet with a woman by the name of Dr. Martha Skinner, one of the top 2 leading experts in the world for the treatment of amyloidosis. Dr. Skinner walks into the room. Janet is sitting at an old table in an old rickety chair. There's no money being raised for research for amyloidosis. And Dr. Skinner sits down across from Janet and looks her dead square in the eyes and says, Janet, you are only the 2nd woman under 40 years old I have ever seen or heard of having this disease. You have 2 to 4 years to live. How would you respond? How we choose to respond to adversity and challenge in our lives determines the story that we write. Janet decided to take out an old blue Mead notebook, maybe like you used to have in school. Maybe yours was another color. And she pulls out that notebook and she opens it up and she grabs a pen, and that notebook became a journal where she unleashed her positive mental attitude onto the world. Janet would write things such as beat the statistics, beat the odds, live with a disease that is chronic and fatal, believe in yourself, combat anything, purpose in life. Janet recognized that her purpose was to continue to lead her 2 boys no matter how much pain she experienced. She recognized that her ability to stay positive through her challenge would help mold the mindset of those 2 young boys into the future as to how they would respond to challenge and adversity, those students in that classroom. Amyloids continued to eat away at her muscles. She would receive care back and forth from St. Louis to Boston, back and forth and back and forth. She would receive phone calls from Dr. Skinner at the Boston Medical Center that would go something like this. Phone call would come in. Dr. Skinner would say, Janet, you need to come to Boston immediately. You're going to go through a list of painful procedures. We're going to increase your medications already a page long in the journal. You're going to have to wear jope stockings around your legs to control the swelling. You're going to have to wear a mask to be able to go outside, and you need to come to Boston immediately. Janet would hang up that telephone, and she would instantly pick it right back up. She would contact her boyfriend, Alan. And she would tell Alan, I don't care about pain, I don't care about medications, I don't care about jope stockings, I don't care about a mask. We will take the boys on a family trip to Boston, and we will have positive memories from our experience together. The boys like Chinese food, we'll take them to Chinatown. The boys like bowling, we will take them candlestick bowling. We will have positive memories from our experience together. And that's exactly what she would follow through and do. How we choose to respond to adversity and challenge in our lives determines the story that we write. And there are little people in our lives, there are friends and loved ones, significant others, that watch how we respond to the adversity and challenge that we face, both personally and professionally. It got to the point where there were evenings where Janet's youngest son, now 7 years old, had to climb under his mother's IV wires to tuck her in at night because by the end of the night there was no more strength. In the back of their home, there was once a TV room and then her bedroom. The TV room was replaced by 24-hour nursing care in their home. That type of care is not provided out of pocket by a family. It would have destroyed the family. It was provided from work that you do, planning that you do, whether it's a group. I know there's a handful of you individual in here, most it's group, but if it's a group, you are placing those blankets of protection on families every single day. Your work is so significant. You see, because she was able to have that care in her home, even though her youngest son would tuck her in by climbing under those IV wires, every night, because she remained the leader of that family, as a teacher, as a mother, as an inspired guide of those children, she would stand outside of the long hallway outside of that TV room turned into a hospital. And she would look down this long hallway. And with her IV stand in tow, whether it took one nurse or two nurses, Janet would make her long way down this hallway, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. So oftentimes in life, just to achieve the things that we want to achieve, it just takes continuing to put 1 foot in front of the other. And that is what she would do to make her way to the head of the dining room table as the leader of that family. And Janet, every single night, she would look across the table to her oldest son, Drew, and she would say, "Drew, how was your day at school?" And then she would pan across the table, and my mother would look me dead square in the eyes and say, "Honey, how was your day at school?" The story I'm sharing with you is the story of my life. My mother, Janet Fishman Newman, is the greatest champion of life I have ever known. The work you do every single day gave my mother peace of mind that she could receive care in our home. The work you do is significant. And now when I talk about my mom, and think as I share the details of my mom, I want you to think about your stories and how you can be detailed with every word, the things you say. I'll say, remember when you used to have a teacher in school? My mom was a teacher just like you had, a lover of people. She would walk into a classroom. All her students would be seated there. And she'd walk in with this long brown hair, big brown eyes, a big pearly white smile, and energy that went for days. Her students loved her. My brother and I adored her. Did you just see my mom? Did you see the students sitting in the room? Did you see smiles and energy on their faces? I'm so thankful to have had mentors like John Gordon. I'm thankful to have this opportunity to help you with your speaking and your communication, because this is going to help you take it to the next level. And don't forget, always tell real stories. If there's one thing that drives me crazy, it's the speaker who gets up on a stage and makes up stories, and they don't tell the truth, and they just try to create content that they think people want to hear rather than being real with people. Tell real stories, pull real life stories, be emotional, be transparent, be you. Next, I'd love to talk to you about points of space and working a timeline. One of the things you've noticed, I talk with my hands all the time. So if you don't naturally talk with your hands, don't go start talking with your hands and making it unnatural. But it's natural for me. My mom used to talk with her hands. I remember driving down the street with my mom, and my mom would pull up to talk to a neighbor, and her hands would come off of that wheel. See me paying attention to the details again? Her hands would pull off of that wheel, and she would start talking with her hands to the neighbor. All this natural energy, emotion, and energy. Use your hands. Work space, right? Allow your hands to take people where you want them to go. So I may say, I want to take you to a classroom right now. I want to take you back in time. Allow your hands to take people where you want them to go. You may say things like, grab your future and bring it to today. Think about that statement. So if you're talking to somebody about vision, right? You're a leader. What's more powerful? Grab your future and bring it to today. Or is it more powerful to say, imagine if you were to grab your future, bring it to today, and get detailed and clear on what it is that you want for your life.
I'm going to get better today. You lock in, and you can make that conscious choice. You will start to apply pressure to yourself. And when you apply pressure to yourself, and you take that personal responsibility that Ray Lewis told us about when we were getting inside that yard, and we were talking about getting the edge, and finding the detail, and finding what the difference will be for you, that is when we can then break it down to inches. That's when we break it down to inches. It's when you make the choice to say, what is in those inches? What is the standard?
Let your natural energy, remember that confidence lesson, but points of space. Grab those points of space, use them to your advantage. But also don't forget to work that timeline. One of the things that I've always loved to do is if I'm telling a story on a timeline, is you will see me on the stage walk to different points of time. So if I were to talk about my dear friend Aeneas Williams, Pro Football Hall of Famer, I love telling a story about how important vision was for him in his life. So he was a junior at Southern University. He had walked onto the football team. At the end of his junior season, he sits in his dorm room, and Aeneas takes out an old notebook. And in that old notebook, he starts to write down all of these goals about the things he would accomplish playing football. He was at Southern University, not a powerhouse like Alabama where I have the opportunity to work. He was at Southern University. And he wrote down all these goals while sitting in his dorm room before his senior year started. And then now, for the sake of time, I want to take you all the way to the finish. But normally, I would work on, and he set this goal. And then he set a goal for after college. Then he set a goal for when he started in his career. And then he set a next goal. You see, I'm working the timeline with the achievement of these goals. But remember, the more you move and you intentionally shift, you stay on that timeline, you're going to keep people's energy and their attention and their eyes on you. One of the things I love to do, and if you see videos or you've been to presentations of ours, you'll see I love asking questions. Questions engage the audience. People don't like hearing statements, go do this or go do that. They like when you ask them a question. The question engages them. So what powerful questions can you ask to engage an audience? A lot of times in the beginning of a talk, I'll ask somebody about their goals. I'll say, what's a really big goal that you had for this year? And they'll write down a goal. I'll say, put it in your proverbial mental shelf or write it down on paper. And then I'll say, take a look at that goal. Did you protect yourself? I'm asking a question that exposes their emotion. Now you'll also recognize I'll say things like this. I want this to feel like a one-on-one coaching session. I'm not going to call anybody out, so don't raise your hands, don't nod your head. But when you think of, did you protect yourself, you keep that for you. It's like it's you and I having a conversation one-on-one. And when you say things like that, you could be in front of an audience. I've spoken to audiences, 12,000 people at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee after Tony Dungy warmed up the stage. And by asking questions, people feel, 12,000, that you're one-on-one. You have the power to do that in your communication. So you ask that question, did you protect yourself? That's between you and the individual. They feel it. You then say, what if you change that goal to a bigger goal? What would happen? Would it increase or decrease the probability of you hitting higher goals? We know the answer, right? I could go into all kinds of statistics. But the reality is I love asking questions. So whether you like saving or not, I think what that example shows us is no matter how much success we have, are we content where we are? Or do we have a willingness to get better? Do we have a burning desire to want to continue to grow, to have a growth mindset versus a content mindset? There's a significant difference between the two. I'm in front of a room of very, very high performers. But the question becomes, what do you want the next chapters to be? Because based upon the growth that you want and the action that you're willing to take on a daily basis, that will determine how many lives you impact one day at a time moving forward. Think of it this way. Think of the period of time in your career. Maybe it happened this year. Maybe you're in this moment right now. Maybe you were in this moment for 3 months last year. Maybe it was 1 week. Athletes, oftentimes, you ever hear of an athlete, they get into the zone? They get into the zone and they just can't be stopped. That's like Barry Sanders just running behind Ken just with those blown open holes. Just in the zone. They can't be stopped. Have you been there? Have you been there in your career? I know you have. You know why? Because you're sitting in a chair in this room. What was the standard that you lived by in that period of time when you were performing at your highest level? Not reacting to our feelings, but the standard. The standard that you set for yourself. What did the action look like? What did the work look like? Because when I've had the opportunity to sit down with high performers in sports and in business, when they talk about the periods of time when they've operated at their highest level, they talk about their work. I remember sharing the stage in Las Vegas last August with Jerry Rice. And before we take the stage, Jerry looks at me and he says, Ben, he said, man, you know what I've never understood? He said, how do people not give 100% when it's 100% their choice? That's one of the most simple statements I've ever heard in my life, but maybe the most profound. And if we want to perform at a high level, we have to give 100%, don't we? And whether it lasted a whole year, a quarter, 6 months, or a handful of weeks, each and every single one of you, you've performed at your highest level. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So the question I have is, when you were operating at that level, were you living to a standard or were you making decisions based upon your feelings? Because based upon your feelings, now this is no knock on anybody who's going to listen to music and eat dessert later, but just follow me, okay? Feelings means, ooh, that chocolate cake looks good. I'm going to eat that chocolate cake. And I'm going to eat that chocolate cake. I want you guys to enjoy yourselves. We're celebrating tonight, okay? I don't eat chocolate cake either. I'll have some for you later, okay? But do you say, I'm going to eat chocolate cake every single day because it makes me feel so good? Or you say, you know what? Yesterday I had a really good workout, and today I'm supposed to work out, but I'm not going to work out because these sheets feel so cozy right now. Or you say, you know what? Yesterday was such a great day. The calendar was so packed. The calendar was so packed, and I actually brought in some brand new business. Today, I'm not going to do anything. That's when we live to our feelings rather than a standard. Where the standard says, I'm willing to break down the game film of my career to understand what it looks like for me to be successful on a daily basis. And once we identify what it looks like to be successful on a daily basis, we understand the standard that is giving you the opportunity to be in a chair in this room. And regardless of what changes in financial climates, regardless of what changes with maybe things with the company, things in the future, things with the laws, your daily action is your standard. And we will always have a choice to negatively react to things that happen, our feelings, or to continue to identify what we can choose to do on a daily basis to continue to have an impact. That's your standard. So the question becomes, do you want to live to your standard or do you want to succumb to your feelings? There's too many champions in this room.
There's too many champions who have hit those grand slams time and time again to succumb to feelings.
Now, my naturalness is to make statements. Hey, I've been in locker rooms of Super Bowl champions. I've been in locker rooms of NCAA champions. I've been in some of the biggest and best boardrooms with some of the top 10 companies, Fortune 10 companies in the entire world. And I'm telling you, if you want to get to the next level, here's what you need to do. That doesn't work. Nobody wants to hear that. It's not about making statements. It's about a natural connection. And the way we do that is by asking questions. The research behind it, Max Weber. If you guys are catching on, John Gordon, Max Weber, right? Spelled W-E-B-E-R. That's one of the mentors that I never met. Heck, I'll even give you a great book. One of the things, I've written 6 books. I never sell my books. I always sell other people's. That's a problem, right? So Nancy Duarte, a book called Resonate. Amazing book on public speaking. I would highly recommend for our continued work together that you check out the book Resonate. It will significantly help you in your stage presence and in your delivery and in your storytelling. Now, Max Weber, questions over statements. That's where I got this from. He talks about power versus authority. If he were to join us right now on camera, he's not alive anymore, but if he were to join us in spirit, he would say power is when you force or coerce somebody to do your will. Authority is when you inspire or empower them to choose what you would want them to choose. If you effectively communicate and you ask the right questions, you will inspire and empower the audience to engage, to choose the behavior, and to take action. Final lesson. I said it earlier. Just be you. Stay in your lane. I can't tell you how many individuals reach out to me. They want to have a speaking career. They want to be a better speaker. I share ideas like I just put on film for you. And unfortunately, if I ever run a test with people and I say, shoot me an email in 30 days, let me know how it goes. 9 out of 10 times, because of fears, doubts, and uncertainties, I never get the emails. Please don't let that be you. Allow this course to be the beginning for you. Know that I'm still trying to get better every single day in my communication style and in our work with every single speech, with every single coaching opportunity. We can never stop improving. Every day is an opportunity to get better, but you have to work hard every day, right? A lot of times I encourage people to work hard. Once again, their fears, their doubts, their uncertainties, they don't even tell people they want to speak. If you want to speak more, just like an athlete, you got to go get your reps in. Go to the community centers and tell them you want to speak. Go to churches, go to high schools, go to companies and offer to share your message. Because when you do a great job and when you continue to build your resume and build your influence from the stage, you will get referrals and you will continue to grow. But always remember, have great mentors like a John Gordon. Have great mentors like you've never met, like a Max Weber. Go and read great books like a Resonate by Nancy Duarte. Always trying to get better. For you, you may feel like your work is just getting started. I feel the same way every single day. And that's the blessing and the gift of the opportunity. Everything you need is already in you. Keep attacking it one day at a time. Be you. Stay in your lane. You have a story that needs to be heard. Go out and leave your legacy.